Hello, everybody. Today we're going to start talking about personal financial literacy. And our first topic we're going to talk about is personal budgets. So you'll need a paper and pencil to take notes and complete your assignment. Be sure to write questions that you may want to ask me later on. During the notes and guided practice, you may pause and rewind as needed. And once you complete with the notes and guided practice, please complete and submit your independent practice. And don't be afraid to contact me for help. All right, personal budgets. So it's really important when you guys go off to college or when you get out of your parents' house to make sure you guys budget your money appropriately. So a personal budget is a way of organizing income and expenses over a period of time in order to make financially responsible decisions. Budgets can span a variety of time periods, though a monthly budget is most common. I know my husband and I make a monthly budget, so we know how much we can spend, if I can go shopping or if we can go out to eat on the weekend, just to see where our money's at to make sure we're paying all our bills and putting money into savings. And then that extra money we can do fun things with. And that's kind of the whole point of a personal budget, is making sure you can take care of the important things first, and then that extra money, you know how much you can spend elsewhere. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to discuss, just a second, there we go. We're going to discuss each component of a budget below, and we're going to label the envelopes, whether it's an income or an expense. So income means that you're getting that money, and then an expense means that you're spending it, so it's not yours anymore. So a salary, that's going to be an income. That's a positive amount. Retirement savings, that's an expense because you're putting money into your retirement. Income taxes is also an expense. You have to pay for your taxes. Utilities is like your water bill or electricity. Those are things you have to pay for, so that's an expense. Savings for college, that's an expense. You're putting money away so you don't spend it, and you're saving it for later on. Entertainment, that's also an expense. So entertainment could be going to the movies or going bowling or going out to eat. Things you're paying money for to entertain you. Wages is kind of like salary, so that's an income. That's money you're getting. Emergency savings, that's expense. Food, that's an expense. You have to pay for it. And then rent or mortgage, that's also an expense. So if you guys notice, we have a lot more expenses than we do income. That's why we have to make budgets, so we know where our income can go and what we can spend our money on. So there's two different kinds of expenses. We have a fixed expense and a variable expense. A fixed expense is expenses that do not change from month to month. So they stay the same, such as your rent. You should pay the same rent amount each month. So rent or mortgage on a house. I think I spelled that right. And then your car payment should be the same each month. And then one more, maybe your car insurance. Okay, those are amounts that you know are going to stay the same. Okay, and then a variable expense is expenses that vary from month to month, so they might change, such as groceries. You probably don't spend the same amount on groceries every month. It's going to vary. Utilities, so utilities, like I said before, is like your water bill. Depending on how much water, your bill's going to change, as well as electricity. In the summer, your electricity might be more expensive because you're running the air conditioning, stuff like that. Those are bills that are going to change month to month. And so again, you have fixed expenses and variable expenses. All right, let's go to number 1. Use the monthly budget below to answer each question. So we have Ricardo obtained his first job after graduating from college. After taxes, Ricardo will bring home $2,400, so he lists out a few expenses. Label each expense as fixed or variable. Okay, so rent. Rent is $800. If we talked about earlier, rent is not going to change. It's going to be $800 every single month. So that is a fixed amount. Food, that can change. So because it can change, that's a variable. Utilities, like I stated before, utilities is like your water bill and your electricity. So that very well could change. That's also going to be variable. Okay, now if you notice, I have 2 blue boxes. Those 2 blue boxes are going to be ones that you do in your independent practice on Schoology. So if you see blue boxes, those are ones I am not going to complete, and you will see those 2 boxes on your independent practice. All right, let's go to A. A says, how much money does Ricardo have yet to budget? So that means we started with, he has $2,400, and this is how much he's already spent. So we're going to add up and see what he already has in his budget. So if I take 800, 420, 125, 340, and 125, and I add them up, I'm going to get $1,810, and I want to see how much he has yet. So I need to take his total, which is 2,400 minus 1,810. I'm going to subtract. Oops, my bad, I got ahead of myself. 13 minus 8 is 5, so $590. Okay, so he spent all of this money on rent, food, utilities, car payment, gas, and after those amounts, he still has $590 left. So he needs to decide where he's going to put that money. So B says he decides to include his student loans payment in his budget. Is this a fixed or variable expense? Well, student loans, that's something you're going to pay every single month, and it's going to be the same amount. So that's going to be a fixed expense as well. All right. So those 2 blue boxes you see on independent practice, but before you do that, we have a little bit more to go through. Okay. Oftentimes, budgets are characterized and the percentage of the total budget is calculated. Okay, so sometimes people organize how they're going to pay for things based on percent. So 40% goes to housing and utilities, 10% to food, and so on like that. So to calculate percents, you guys have seen this before. Percent is always out of 100, and then you have part to whole, or part equals percent times whole. Okay, so we're going to go back to, this is called a proportion. So if I look at number 2, it says Michael's budget $600 of the $2,000 he brings home for transportation expenses, and we want to know what percent that is. So we're calculating the percent. So I'm going to set up my proportion. He budgets $600. This is number 2 out of $2,000, and we want to know what percent that is. Okay, so I'm going to simplify because I have a lot of zeros. So I can cross these off to help me out. So now I have 6 over 20 equals x over 100. And I can cross multiply. 100 times 6 is 600. And then I have to divide by 20. 20 goes into 63. And I'm left with 0, so I have 30%. So my answer is 30%. Okay, and then number 3 has a blue circle, which means you guys are going to be doing that one in Schoology on your independent practice. Okay. Number 4 says, use what you know about budgets and calculating percents to answer the questions below. So the Donaldson family budgets their monthly income of $3,200. Complete the table below to determine the percentage of the total family budget that the category compromises. So I'm going to skip down. I'm going to do transportation and I'm going to do savings are going to be my 2 examples. And then you guys are going to be in charge of the rest. So transportation, I have 640, and then my total is in the word problem. It's 3,200, and I'm looking for what percent that is. So again, I'm going to simplify, cross out some zeros. 100 times 64. Some of you can probably do this quicker, but I'm going to show all my work. I don't want to lose anybody. So 6,400 divided by 320. This is a big number. Again, you guys, I know you guys know tricks and stuff. You guys could simplify and cross off zeros. I'm going to go ahead and leave it. 320 goes into 640 2 times, which is exactly 640. And I get 0, but I have my decimal here, so I have 20%. So transportation is 20%. And then I'm going to go ahead, this is still number 4. I'm going to do savings. Savings is 480 out of my total of 3,200. And I'm looking for the percent. Okay, cross off some zeros again. 100 times 48. 4,800. And then I'm going to divide by 320. So 320 goes into 480, one time. 8 minus 2 is 6. 4 minus 3 is 1. I get 1,600. I'm not sure how many times that goes in, so I'm going to do some work off to the side. I'm going to guess, let's say 4 times. 8, 12. Still not big enough, so let's try 5. 1,600, perfect. So exactly 5 times. And my answer is 15%. So I would put 15%. All right, last one, number 5, says Kelly's dad is working with her to create a budget for her part-time job. He would like her to follow the percentages below. Complete the table to determine how much money Kelly will be able to give, save, and spend if she makes $800 per month. Okay, so on this one, I'm only going to do one. I'm going to do the first one. We're going to figure out how much money she has to give. Okay, so giving. So we know she is giving 15%. And percent is always out of 100. And her total amount of money she makes per month, if we look at the word problem, is 800. Okay, so there's my proportion. I can cross multiply and divide. So 800 times 15. 8 times 5 is 40. 0, 0, 0, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So I get 1200. But I have to divide by 100. And I still have a 0. So I get $120. Okay, another way, guys, I'm going to draw a line here. I don't know if that helps. When you do your proportion, remember you guys can also use scale factor. If you guys know, so from 100 to 800, I multiply by 8. So if I multiply by 8 on the bottom, on the denominator, I multiply by 8 on the numerator. And if I take 15 times 8, I still get 1200. So if you notice, I'm still gonna get the same answer if I use scale factor, if I cross multiply and divide. All right, so you guys will see those blue boxes on independent practice. Again, make sure you refer back to the notes, and if you have questions, let me know.